Alrighty, hello YouTube. Welcome back to my channel. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Cryptic Coil, and in today's video, I'm going to be showcasing a collection of books from a specific author. In today's video, that author will be none other than Mary Downing Hahn, and I'm there's one book in particular that I'm hoping to read right now because it's old school April. It's not looking good. I don't think I'm going to get to read this book this month because I'm already busy right now with Paperbacks from Hell by Grady Hendrix, and I'm already busy with The Grave by Christopher Pike. And the next book on my list is going to be Wolf by Gillian Cross, which is a point horror book. And hopefully, I might be doing that as a buddy read with my friend Shadyside Library. But let's go ahead and get into these Mary Downing Hahn books. The first book that I want to show you is this one. It's called December Stillness. I've picked this one up within the last couple of months, I think. I think I picked it up this past fall and winter. And on the cover, you can see a young lady and an older gentleman staring each other in the eye, and they both look really tense. And just for fun, let's go ahead and see what year this book came out. This book came out in 1988, but this is an Avon Flair printing, which was printed in 1990. Oh wow, this book was printed in Canada, which I think is really interesting. But Mary Downing Hahn is one of those authors that I feel like we all know about in this section of BookTube and SpookTube, but I feel like she doesn't really get any love. I know that Elizabeth Sagewood has read one of her books within the last, I want to say, 6 months, but that's about, other than that one video where Elizabeth Sagewood talks about reading her Mary Downing Hahn book, and then the times that Mary Downing Hahn pops up in one of my book haul videos, she doesn't really get any love from this community. And I'm hoping to change that. Going forward, I want to read one of her books and do a book report on it. So let me read you the tagline and the summary on back, and then I'll move on to the next book. So the book is called December Stillness, and the tagline on the front reads, "For Kelly, there are so many questions, and the answers are never spoken." So the synopsis on back reads, "Questions. Sensitive and idealistic 15-year-old Kelly McAllister feels at odds with everyone around her. Her best friend has suddenly turned boy crazy. Her talented mother creates greeting card designs instead of real art, and her father never talks to her about anything except working hard and getting ahead. That's why Kelly becomes so involved in the plight of a homeless Vietnam vet who takes refuge in the library each day. Interviewing him began as a social studies project, but it takes on new meaning after her offers of food and friendship backfire into a real disaster. What had the war done to destroy this man, and what had it done to her own father, who had been to the same war and refuses to speak of it?" So this doesn't sound like it's a horror novel, but Mary Downing Hahn, she does a lot of horror novels. So this does sound interesting, but realistically, I don't think I'm going to get around to reading it. However, there was a woman that I used to be friends with, and this actually sounds just like her and her life and what she's been through. I don't know if she ever interviewed a homeless dude, but her father fought in Vietnam, and he had issues, and that was kind of a cross she had to bear growing up. The next book, and this isn't going in any particular order. I don't have these books arranged in like publishing order or anything like that. The next book I have by her is called Took, and it says a ghost story. And so, if you're doing old school April, this might be a good book to this might be a good book to read for the ghostwriter prompts. But so it's called Took, and there's this like creepy doll hand on the cover, and there's no tagline on the front. So let's read the summary on back. Daniel and his sister Erica didn't want to move to rural West Virginia. Their new home is a rundown old farm surrounded by woods miles from town. The local kids treat Daniel and Erica as snobby outsiders and frighten them with strange stories about their house and a witch called Old Auntie. Erica withdraws further into herself, holding long conversations with her doll, and their parents grow increasingly unhappy in their new surroundings. At first, Daniel dismisses the tales of the witch and her man eating razorback hog, Bloody Bones, as superstitious nonsense, but gradually he is forced to believe that Erica is in real danger. When Erica vanishes, he knows she's been took, and he must summon all his courage to confront Old Auntie and take his sister back. That sounds pretty dope, doesn't it? This one was published in, it looks like it was copyrighted in 2015 and it was published in 2016. And this is published by Scholastic. Okay. So the next book that I have, and I knew that I needed to replace, because I see these books at the thrift stores often enough that I could have all these things in like mint or near mint condition because they're always at the thrift stores. So I know people read them, even, or at least buy them, even if we don't give this author a whole lot of love in this corner of BookTube. But this one has some like water damage, and oh gosh, I hope it's water, but I need to replace this one. This one is called Deep and Dark and Dangerous. And look at that cover. Okay, those are really cool colors, great colors, very cool looking cover. No tagline on the front. The synopsis on back reads, just before summer begins, 13-year-old Allie finds an old photograph. She recognizes the two children. One's her mother, the other her Aunt Dulcie. But who is the third person, the one who's been torn out of the picture? Allie will have 2 months to figure it out since she's spending the summer with her aunt and her cousin in the same house her mom and aunt used to visit when they were kids. Then Allie meets Sissy. Sissy is mean, spiteful, and determined to ruin Allie's summer. Sissy also has a secret. Could it have something to do with the old photo? Allie is dying to find out. Though, if she's not careful, that's exactly what might happen to her. Die, that is. And it looks like, let's see. Okay, I need to replace this one. The water damage is kind of grossing me out. Like, I'm touching it with my hands. This one was copyrighted in 2007, so it's almost vintage. But that does actually sound really interesting. Then I have this other book by her, and what is it like with all my thrift store receipts? This is like the second or third book already that had a thrift store receipt. When did I even buy this one? About a year and a half ago. Wow. Okay. And I haven't read a single one of these. But this one is called One for Sorrow, and that is a really cool looking cover. Like there's a graveyard, and there's like a ghost girl standing in the middle of it, and the graveyard is covered with snow. That is a great looking cover. No tagline on the front. Let's go ahead and read the summary on back. Annie Brown is new at school in September 1918. Before Annie has a chance to meet the other girls in her class, clingy Elsie Schneider claims Annie as her best friend. Annie's classmates don't like Elsie. She's a tattletale, a liar, and a thief. Soon Annie shares their opinion. Annie finds other friends and stays away from Elsie, as far away as she can get. She even joins her new friends in teasing and picking on Elsie. After all, Elsie is obnoxious and her father is German, a Hun, the enemy in the war overseas. Elsie becomes a victim of the deadly Spanish influenza, but her claim on Annie's friendship lives on, and so does her anger at Annie and the others who made her life miserable. She will be Annie's best friend, and she will have her revenge. Annie won't get rid of her so easily this time. Whoa, that one sounds like really good. And this one was printed in January of 2018. So fairly new. Great looking cover. I love that cover. So the next one that I have is called All the Lovely Bad Ones. And as far as the cover goes, I really like what they were going for, but I don't like the way it came out because it just looks too digitized. If it was photographed or if it were painted or something, I think that like this could look really cool, but it just looks kind of bad. It didn't look good when it came out, and it doesn't look good now. So it was never destined to age well. But yeah, that's the cover. It's called All the Lovely Bad Ones. No tagline on the front. But let's go ahead and read the summary on back. Travis and his sister, Corey, can't resist a good trick. When they learn that their grandmother's quiet Vermont inn, where they're spending the summer, has a history of ghost sightings, they decide to do a little haunting of their own. But their supernatural pranks awaken something dangerous, something that should have stayed asleep. Only Travis and Corey can lay to rest the spiteful spirits they've stirred. This means discovering the secret of Fox Hill and the horrors visited on its inhabitants years before. Okay, that sounds pretty good. There's a little bit of a mystery element. And this one was copyrighted in 2008. So, again, getting really close to being considered vintage. Then I have this book by Mary Downing Hahn, and it's called Guest. And this is a paperback copy. One time at a thrift store, I found this in hardback, and I had gotten it into my head that I didn't want to be a cover chaser, but now I'm kind of regretting not buying the hardback, because what I'm finding is that I prefer hardbacks to paperbacks, because paperbacks get damaged with reading if you're not careful. And the spines are a lot more vulnerable on a paperback than on a hardback. So if I had my rathers, I mean, I'd rather just have nothing but hardbacks, really. But I ended up not buying the hardback, and I wish I had. But oh well. So this one is called Guest, and the closest thing to a tagline on the cover reads A Changeling Tale. But let's go ahead and look at this cover. I really like it. I really like there's the font on this isn't exactly eerie, but because it's done in black against this background photo, there's something eerie about it. And I really like the colors because the colors are really mysterious. The colors have a certain, I'm looking for a word, ambivalence, okay, where I don't know if we're supposed to look at this image and see if, never mind the crow and never mind the baby crib or whatever, you could get a feeling of peace and serenity and calmness, or you can get a feeling of eeriness and dread. But then once you see that like crow or raven looking bird, and then this old school baby crib, You don't know what to make of it. So that's a really good looking cover. The summary on back reads, "Truth to tell, it scared me to think of going off on my own. I had never been farther from home than Lower Hexham, just a mile down the road. On the other side of the village was Mirkwood, where even the bravest boys dared not go, and beyond Mirkwood were the dark lands. If it hadn't been for me, my brother would be in Mam's arms, and the changeling would be, well, wherever he should be, not here. So no matter how scared I was, I had to make things right. Me, Molly, Cloverall, all by myself. I would rescue my baby brother." Um, I don't know. That doesn't really sound appealing to me, actually. So this one was copyrighted in 2019. So let's move on. I found this one called The 13th Cat. And look at that kitty on the cover. Very cute. Looks kind of grumpy, but that makes it even cuter. And then there's that really old, rundown Victorian style home in the background at night under a full moon. Good looking cover. Let's read the summary on back. "Will curiosity kill the cat? Zoe loves spending the summer with Aunt Alice, and her aunt's new house is the perfect place to cozy up with a good book. But she's unnerved by the overgrown forest next door, which is creepy, even in the daytime, and full of eerie sounds at night. Worse, there are rumors in town of a dark force in those woods, and Zoe can't deny that the wild black cats who live there seem to be watching her. When she encounters a mean old woman who claims to be their owner, Zoe realizes there's more to the cats than meets the eye. But little does she know that the closer she comes to discovering their secret, the more danger she's in." And I think this one is like new. Yes, it is, because it was copyrighted in 2021, and it says that the first paperback edition came from 2022. So very, very new. But it does sound good. Then I found this really old school Mary Downing Hahn book, and it's kind of damaged. You look at the spine, look at the cover. It's a little bit beat up, but it's in okay condition. The spine is healthy and holding onto the pages, and that's my biggest thing. This one used to belong to a library, I guess, but this book is called Time for Andrew, a Ghost Story. And this is a really good looking cover. It's an old school cover, like out of the 90s. I love it. And this is an Avon Camelot printing. Just take a moment to look at that cover. I mean, it looks good. Like, I'm guessing that's a ghost boy, because this boy looks kind of fairly modern. I mean, he looks like he's from the 90s and he's scared. And then he sees this boy wearing like really old school pajamas, like pajamas from the early 1900s or something. And there's a candle, so there's like no electricity. They're going old school and getting by on candlelight. So let's go ahead and read the summary on back. Ghost Boy. Aunt Blythe's house gives Andrew the creeps, full of dark rooms, creaky noises, and the sound of a woman sobbing somewhere in the shadows. Then, in the middle of the night, Andrew awakens to find a boy standing in his room, a boy who is Andrew's double, except he looks as if he's come from the grave. He wants to follow him to a place where he will meet the spirits of long dead ancestors, a place from which Andrew may never return. Okay, that sounds compelling. That sounds really good. And this one was printed in 1995. Okay, so that sounds really good. It's a shame I didn't know about this author when I was a child. I think I would have really enjoyed her books. Then I found this one, and this is another Avon Camelot printing, and it looks like it's from the 90s, and it's called A Doll in the Garden, and yet again, a ghost story. So it seems like that's what Mary Downing Hahn really specializes in, is ghost stories. So if you like a good ghost story, you should really look at this author. So that's a good looking cover. So you see this, like, 90s looking girl, with a doll in her lap. And there's a ghost and a cat on the cover, pretty rosebush in the background. Um, there is a tagline on the front, and it reads, Ashley had been warned to stay out of Miss Cooper's garden. Now let's read the synopsis on back. She had been warned never to go there, but as 10-year-old Ashley followed the beautiful white cat through a small opening in the hedge, she stepped into an enchanted place, a place where she might find the answers. Who was the little girl with golden curls and huge sad eyes? Whose voice cries out in the dark of night? Why does the white cat cast no shadow in the moonlight? Who was the owner of the beautiful old doll found buried in the garden? And if Ashley discovers the truth, can she ever go back? And whoa, this was copyrighted in 1989 but printed in 1990. And this is in excellent condition, like really good for a children's paperback this old. Children's paperbacks get beat. There is an inscription on the inside cover of this one. It says, "To Mom, love Tilly," or Jilly. But excellent condition book. Okay, and now let's get ready for Mary Downing Hahn's biggest selling book. Okay, and it's called Wait Till Helen Comes, and I have 2 copies of it. Okay, so I think that this day and age, most people have the one right here in my left hand. I'm kind of shaking it in front of the camera. And then there's a vintage Avon Camelot printing that I have right here in my right hand. And let's go ahead and examine these covers. Okay, so it looks to me like there's this ghost girl on front and center on the cover, and she's in this really old graveyard, and the graveyard might be a family plot on somebody's land, because when I lived in Texas, my aunt and uncle lived in a really, I don't know if they even lived in a town. They lived in a house off the highway. It was like a quarter mile off the highway. And there were, I guess, the people that had settled that land, I guess, they died there. They moved here, they moved to that part of Texas from Germany, and they died in that part of Texas, and they were buried on the land. And we had to, like, walk through, like, the sticks, and we found their grave plots, and they were like from the 1800s, and so that's kind of what this cover makes me think of. And Mary Downing Hahn has actually received some kind of award from this book. And this is again a ghost story, big surprise. And then let's examine this cover. So these 2 girls, in a graveyard at night, and there's a ghost girl on the cover next to a certain gravestone. I mean, they're both cool looking covers, but let's go ahead and read the summary on back. Just wait, Molly. Wait till Helen comes. 12-year-old Molly and her 10-year-old brother Michael have never liked their younger stepsister, Heather. Ever since their parents got married, she's made Molly and Michael's life miserable. Now their parents have moved them all to the country to live in a house that used to be a church with a cemetery in the backyard. If that's not bad enough, Heather starts talking to a ghost named Helen and warning Molly and Michael that Helen is coming for them. Molly feels certain Heather is in some kind of danger, but every time she tries to help, Heather twists things around to get her into trouble. It seems as if things can't get any worse, but they do when Helen comes. Then let's go ahead and read the summary on the back of this vintage Avon Camelot printing. Beware of Helen. Heather is such a whiny little brat, always getting Michael and me into trouble. But since our mother married her father, we're stuck with her, our poor stepsister who lost her real mother in a mysterious fire. But now something terrible has happened. Heather has found a new friend out in the graveyard behind our home, a girl named Helen who died with her family in a mysterious fire over 100 years ago. Now her mother returns to lure children into the pond to drown. I don't want to believe in ghosts, but I followed Heather into the graveyard and watched her talk to Helen, and I'm terrified, not for myself, but for Heather. And I know that this book has received awards. Let's go ahead and look at the copyright on back. Huh. This first Avon Camelot printing came out in 1987, but it was copyrighted in 1986. Since it was copyrighted in 86, I feel comfortable putting this on the birthday shelf. Except I don't really have a birthday shelf. I organize my books a little bit differently. But this would make a good book for the yearbook prompts. And then when I look at this copy, this reprint from Clarion Books, all it says is that it was copyrighted in... So it says it was copyrighted in 86, but this first Clarion paperback edition is from 2008. So this one sounds like super, super good. Okay, sorry this video is going so long, but I do have a lot of Mary Downing Hahn books. So this one is called Witch Catcher. And, it's got an interesting looking cover. I'll go ahead and read the summary on back. Suddenly, a small, thin girl dressed in rags and tatters of filthy clothing walked out of the bushes. The dense shade gave her pale skin a greenish tint. Her mouth was wide, her lips thin, her eyes oddly slanted, and her hair was a tangled mass of black curls. She was the weirdest kid I'd ever seen, yet she was oddly familiar, like something I'd seen in a dream. The girl straightened up and turned to me. Where's the old man gone? Him who lives yonder in the castle. Great Uncle Thaddeus? Mr. Mostyn? Is that who you mean? Mostyn, yes. Him. Where is he? He died a couple of years ago, I told her. He left his house to my father, so we're living there now. The girl sighed and shook her head. Well, he were a right dafty fellow, but at least he kept me safe. Now I reckon it's up to ye. That sounds kind of interesting, I guess. And it looks like this one was copyrighted and printed in 2006. Then I also have this book, and it's called Promises to the Dead. And this is a very interesting cover. So you have like an old school horse rider wearing a cape, and you have these young boys running away through the woods. And that's a good looking cover. And no tagline on the front. Let's go ahead and read the summary on back. Human contraband. When Jesse goes down to the marsh on that fateful day, he expects to find a turtle for terrapin soup. Instead, he comes across a dying slave woman who makes Jesse promise he'll take her young son, Perry, to a relative in Baltimore. Aiding and abetting a slave is against the law, and it also goes against everything Jesse has been taught to believe. But he can't break a promise to the dead, and more important, he has to follow what he knows in his heart to be right. The journey is more treacherous than Jesse ever imagined. At the crossroads of a country about to plunge into civil war, danger lurks around every corner. Jesse and Perry must survive a bloody riot, steer clear of a brutal slave jail, and elude the ruthless slave catcher on their trail. And if they turn to anyone for help, they run the risk of betrayal to the authorities. Finding a safe haven in all the madness seems near impossible. As the fighting between Yankees and Confederates heats up, these boys on the run are forced to face some harsh truths, but they also find unexpected connections that could lead them to a new beginning. That sounds, fun. That sounds interesting. And this one was copyrighted in the year 2000, so it's definitely vintage. I have this one next, and it's called The Old Willis Place. And there is a tagline on the front, and it reads, "An empty house full of secrets." And again, typical Mary Downing Hahn book cover. There are some, trees with no leaves, nearing sunset, rundown Victorian house on the cover. There's a girl on the cover. But there's also like the back of these two children's heads looking at the house. So I don't know what's going on there. But the tagline on the front reads, "An empty house full of secrets." And the synopsis on back reads, "Diana and her little brother Georgie have been living in the woods behind the old Willis place, a decaying mansion for what seems like forever. A strict set of rules won't allow them to leave the property or even show themselves to anyone. But when a new caretaker and his young daughter, Lissa, come to live there, Diana is tempted to break the mysterious rules for the first time in hopes of making a new friend. She and Georgie learn quickly, though, that breaking the rules can have deadly consequences." And there's a copyright date on the back, but I just want to see if it's consistent with the copyright page on the inside. It says that the book was copyrighted in 2004, but this first Clarion paperback edition is from 2007. So yeah, I would go ahead and say that this is definitely vintage. This is another one that I might be able to replace because it feels like there's a little bit of water damage right here, at the bottom. I only have a few more. So this one is called "Stepping on the Cracks." And this one has like kind of a medal. So this is a Scott Odell Award for historical fiction. And there's no tagline on the front, but you see this young girl hiding behind a tree looking to see what's around the tree or what's in front of the tree. Not, I wouldn't say it's the most aesthetically pleasing cover, but it certainly conveys something about the story. So let's read the summary on back and see what this cover is trying to convey. "Step on a crack, break Hitler's back." A blue star hangs in Margaret's living room window. The star means her brother is fighting in the war Hitler started. But there are stars in lots of windows in her town. The brother of Margaret's best friend Elizabeth is fighting in the war too. But neither girl is really worried. After all, this is the good war and the Americans are the good guys. Their brothers will come home safe as soon as the good guys win. In the meantime, the girls wage their own war against the class bully, Gordy. But then the girls stumble upon Gordy's secret. Suddenly, he doesn't seem like much of a bully anymore. But not only have their feelings toward Gordy changed, now they're also questioning the war. Is it such a good war after all? Is there really such anything? That's interesting. let's see. The text was copyrighted in 1991, but it looks like this copy might have come from the year 2008 based on the cover photo image source copyright. Okay, so then I have this book called Closed for the Season. And what I think of this book, the cover, I think it looks really good because I like the colors. And you have two kids on a bike looking at a castle, it looks like. And there are no taglines on the front, but it says that she's the winner of an Edgar Award for the best juvenile mystery. And I don't know if that was this book or not, but let's read the summary on back. The weather-beaten sign on the gate of the magic forest says, "Closed for the season." But when the boys ride up to it on their bikes, Arthur tells his new friend Logan that the old amusement park hasn't been open for years. The overgrown park looks sinister even in broad daylight, so Logan is reluctant to go inside, but Arthur urges him on. He's sure they'll uncover important clues to the mystery they're trying to solve. Who killed Myrtle Donaldson, and what happened to the money she handled as head bookkeeper at the Magic Forest? Arthur and Logan's quest takes them to the lowest and highest levels of society in their small Virginia town. The boys must pay another visit to the Magic Forest, this time in the middle of the night, and this time they find the killer waiting for them. Whoa, that sounds dope. Okay, this one sounds like a really fun read. This was copyrighted in 2009. All right, I got 3 more books for you, okay? So, nope. Yep. Okay, 3. Okay. So I have this one, and it's called The Dead Man in Indian Creek. And, it's another interesting cover, not the most aesthetically pleasing thing, but, you have what looks like to be the dead body of a young man lying in the woods, in the grass. And then you have the feet of these children who are, walking through the woods, and up ahead in the distance, they see this body. And one of the kids is wearing Chuck Taylors, my favorite sneakers. Well, actually, both of them are. Okay, one of them is wearing the white ones. The other one is wearing the black ones. They're both low tops, if you care about that sort of thing. And the tagline on the front reads, "A camping trip turns into a hunt for a murderer." Ooh, that sounds interesting already. So the synopsis on the back reads, while camping near Indian Creek, Matt and his best friend, Parker, get up early to see if they can spot a blue heron. Instead, they find the body of a dead man floating in the clear water. Well, it looked to me like, he was lying in the grass. Okay. Parker is sure that George Evans, the smooth-talking antiques dealer who is dating his mother, must somehow be connected to the dead man. Matt isn't so sure, but then, on Halloween night while snooping around Evans' antiques shop, the boys make another shocking discovery that puts their own lives in danger. There are murderous grown-ups that would do anything to keep what the boys found in the shop a secret, and now they're after Parker and Matt. Are the boys clever enough to get away, or will they too end up like the dead man in Indian Creek? Okay, that sounds like super dope. And this book is like super thin, large font. This would be a really fast read. And this one was copyrighted in 1990. Okay, so definitely vintage, baby. But this one was printed in 2009. So, then there's this one, and it's called The Ghosts of Crutchfield Hall. And this one has a very aesthetically pleasing cover. I really love like this oval shaped mirror. It looks like so vintage. Uh, and oh, I don't know if it's even a mirror. I think it might be an oval shaped picture frame with these very with these children from some time in the past, and there's a little bit of blood splatter on the photo. No tagline on the front, but let's go ahead and read the synopsis on back. Sophia was watching me, and I didn't know if I should fear her or try to befriend her. When 12-year-old Florence boards the horse drawn coach in London, she looks forward to her new life at Crutchfield Hall, her great uncle's manor house in the English countryside. Anything will be better, Florence thinks, than the grim London orphanage she has just left. Florence doesn't reckon with the eerie presence that haunts the cavernous rooms and dimly lit hallways of Crutchfield. It's the ghost of her cousin Sophia, who died the year before. Sophia's ghost seeks to recreate the scene of her death and cause someone else to die in her place so that she will be restored to life, and she intends to force Florence to help her. Ooh, that sounds good. And this one was copyrighted in 2010. So, not quite vintage, but getting there. And the last book that I have is The Girl in the Locked Room. And what do you know? It's another ghost story, and that's what the cover looks like. Um, it does the trick. It does the trick, especially for those who love ghost stories. So the summary on the back reads: She goes to the mirror on the wardrobe door. Once she talked to her reflection as if it were a dear friend, a kindred soul. But as the years passed, cobwebs draped the mirror, its surface tarnished, her image slowly faded. Now she sees nothing but a shadowy shape, too vague for her to be sure it's her reflection. Perhaps she doesn't need to hide. Perhaps no one can see her. Hmm. Sounds mysterious. Mysterious can be compelling. I'm not sure how compelling that is. Okay, there's another summary on the inner dust jacket, and that might make it a bit more compelling. So let's check this out. A girl is locked in a room in an old abandoned house. She has been hiding there for more than 100 years. She is afraid, and she is lonely. Now another lonely girl arrives. Jules and her family have moved so often that she has never had a chance to make friends and put down roots. Once again, she's starting over in a new place. This time, a ruined house where a pale face appears in an upstairs window. Who is the mysterious figure on the top floor? First fearful, then fascinated, Jules is determined to befriend the girl in the locked room. Past and present intersect as the girls unlock the door and discover the chilling secret history of the family who lived in the house all those many years ago. It sounds like a story that's been told before, but I'm not against that. I'm not mad at that because every one of them offers something unique and something, sometimes, you know, stories like this could be better than others, and I'd be curious actually to see how this one does. This one was copyrighted in 2018, so fairly new. And well, that's it for my Mary Downing Hahn book collection video. Sorry that this video was so long. I didn't intend for it to be so long. But if you're interested in this author and you're wondering how many books she has, these are all the ones that I have. And maybe one of them sounded good to you. Maybe you might keep an eye out at the store, or maybe you might want to order one of these books online. And maybe you'll be compelled to really read one of these books. I know that after doing this, I am. I think that the ones that I'm the most compelled to read are definitely going to be Wait Till Helen Comes. I think One for Sorrow sounded really good. One for Sorrow was the one with the graveyard and the snow. I think the 13th cat sounded kind of interesting. The doll in the garden sounded kind of interesting. The dead man in Indian Creek sounded really good to me. The girl in the locked room sounded pretty good. I'd really be curious to give that one a try. The Ghost in Crutchfield Hall sounded pretty good. And also Closed for the Season. Those are the ones that I think are probably at the top of my reading list. And then another one that I would probably throw in the pile of books that I'd be really curious to read from her would be The Old Willis Place. But let me know in the comment section below what you think of Mary Downing Hahn's books, if you've ever read any. Let me know what you thought. Let me know if this video compelled you to pick up any of these or to read any of these if you already have them but haven't read. And then do me a favor, tell me what kind of video you'd like to see me make next, because I have a few ideas. I feel like I've kind of pigeonholed myself into making like videos that are either displays of book collections that I have from a particular author, or book hauls, or even book reviews. But I'd be interested in doing other things. So let me know in the comment section below what you think I should do next. Okay, thank you guys for watching. Horns up, peace out.